Crystal clear turquoise water, tiny coral islands as far as you can see, seaplanes touching down in the waves right next to you, and a boat parked basically everywhere you look. At first glance, the Leonida Keys look like the perfect vacation paradise, but Rockstar themselves describe this area as some of the most beautiful and most dangerous waters in all of America. And once you actually look at what's happening in the trailers and screenshots, you realize pretty quickly that behind the palm trees and beaches, there's a whole smuggling world going on, with weird locals, shady business, and one detail that in my opinion matters way more for the entire game than it gets credit for right now. So today, we're going through everything we know about the Leonida Keys, the pretty side, the dirty side, and why these islands are probably the place where your GTA 6 story actually kicks off in the first place. Alright, let's get into it. Let's start with the basics. The Leonida Keys are a chain of islands at the very bottom of the map, just south of Vice City, and the real-life inspiration is pretty obvious. It's the Florida Keys, that long string of tropical islands that are all connected by massive bridges and that form the southernmost point of the US. Rockstar basically took that one-to-one, including the long causeway bridges stretching across the open water. In the marketing, the region gets sold as the gateway to paradise, with a casual dress code, packed bars, and that whole vacation feeling where you just grab a deck chair and let the day do its thing. But in the same breath, there's that one line about the dangerous waters, and that line is not there by accident. More on that later. Now, the most important island we know so far is called Key Lento. And here's a little fun fact, because the name is actually a pretty clever nod to the real Key Largo. Largo and Lento are both music terms, and both of them mean slow, so Rockstar is literally telling you what this place is about through the island's name. Everything down here runs a few gears slower. No neon, no skyscrapers, no traffic chaos like in Vice City. Instead, you get sun-faded beach houses, boat docks instead of driveways, and bars where flip-flops count as the dress code. Sounds pretty relaxing at first, but that's only true on the surface, because this exact sleepy corner is where one of our two main characters lives, Jason Duvall. And there's this one screenshot that sums up his entire character perfectly. Jason is passed out on the couch in the middle of the afternoon, beer cans on the table, controller right next to him. Honestly, that looks like a pretty good life at first, but his official bio nails the problem in one line. Jason just wants an easy life, but life keeps making it harder for him. And that's so good because it's exactly the DNA of this whole region. Jason isn't some guy from the high-rises of Vice City. He grew up right here in the Keys, surrounded by small-time crooks, con artists, and guys who always have some shady deal going on. As a teenager, he was constantly in trouble himself, so he tried to get out and joined the army. That worked out about medium well. The second he came back, the island pulled him right back in, and since then he's been doing the only thing he's actually good at. He runs contraband for the local drug runners and collects money for them. And according to his bio, Jason is looking for something bigger, and then he meets Lucia. Rockstar themselves wrote this beautiful line about it, saying that meeting her is either the best or the worst thing that will ever happen to him. If you've seen the trailers, you already know it's probably going to be both at the same time. If you played GTA 5, you kind of know this vibe from Trevor out in Blaine County, except Jason isn't the unhinged psycho. He's more like the guy who genuinely just wants to be left alone and still gets dragged into everything anyway. And his home is also one of the most interesting places we've seen so far. Jason lives in a stilt house right on the water in Key Lento. The stilts aren't just for looks, by the way. They protect the house from storm surges, exactly like the real houses down in the Florida Keys. And if you look underneath the house in the screenshots, Jason's entire starter setup is already parked there. An old Ganado, which is his lowrider pickup, plus an enduro dirt bike and a kayak for the water. That's almost certainly our first safe house in the game. But here's the catch. The house doesn't even belong to Jason. He lives there completely rent-free, and there's a very specific reason for that. And that reason has a name. Brian Heder. And I'm just gonna say it, Brian is already one of my favorite characters in the entire game. Brian is an old drug smuggler from what Rockstar themselves call the golden age of smuggling in the Keys. So we're talking the 80s, when product was getting moved through these islands in amounts you can barely imagine. There's even a quote from him on the official site where he's bragging to Jason about the old days. He claims he ran so much weed through the islands back then that the entire state of Leonida could have levitated off of it. That sentence alone tells you everything you need to know about the guy. And then there's the shark tattoo on his arm, which is not a coincidence either. Rockstar Rockstar describes Brian as someone who looks like a lazy beach bum on the outside, but moves like a patient great white shark the second there's money involved. These days, Brian has mostly stepped back from the dangerous day-to-day stuff. He runs a place called Brian's Boatworks and Marina together with Lori, his third wife. And yeah, third wife. Even that just fits the guy perfect. Lori shows up in the official descriptions too, including the detail that Jason likes to stop by for some of her sangria every now and then. Sounds like a tiny detail, but it shows you how tight this whole circle is. This isn't some anonymous crime organization like the big cartels in GTA 5. It's basically one weird little family. Now, on paper, Brian's Boatworks is a slightly run-down boat repair shop. In reality, it's almost certainly the front for his smuggling operation. We've already seen official footage of Jason loading crates of contraband onto a seaplane at this exact marina at night, and that also explains the deal with the house. Jason lives at Brian's place for free, and in return, he handles the dirty work, the dangerous jobs that Brian is too smart and too comfortable for by now. And Brian isn't the only interesting character in Jason's circle. There's also Cal Hampton, Jason's buddy, and this dude is an absolute gem. According to Rockstar, Cal is an extremely paranoid conspiracy theorist who prefers spending his days at home on the couch, drinking beers, and listening in on Coast Guard radio traffic on the side. Sounds like a pure comedy character at first, but think about what that actually means for a smuggling crew for a second. A guy who knows around the clock where the Coast Guard is right now is worth gold. He's the one who can tell you exactly when which stretch of water is clear for the next midnight run. So Cal isn't just the funny sidekick in the background. He's basically a built-in early warning system for our first missions in the game. And this exact kind of world design is why I'm so hyped for this region. Because the Keys aren't just a backdrop for a few story characters, these islands are fully living their own life. The best example of that is the Rusty Anchor. That's the local dive bar in the middle of Key Lento, and the in-game slogan is amazing. Soak your troubles at the Rusty Anchor. The real-life inspiration for it is a legendary bar down in Key Largo called the Caribbean Club, and Rockstar didn't just settle for a pretty exterior here. The entire interior is enterable and detailed down to the last corner. The walls are covered in old license plates. There are working TVs playing local news, and there are even posters taped up for indie bands that perform at the bar. There's even official footage of Jason and Lucia just sitting on the wooden deck behind the bar with a beer, watching the sunset. No shootout, no chase, just two people by the water. And it's exactly moments like that that make a world feel alive, and the rest of the island fully keeps up with that. A little way down the road, there's a gator-themed mini golf course. There's a gift shop called Wonder Whale, selling the most ridiculous tourist junk you can imagine, and the wildlife just walks straight through town like it lives there. Which, to be fair, it does. Flamingos on the side of the road, herons on the docks, and somewhere in the canal, there's guaranteed to be a gator waiting for a tourist to get a little too close to the water. Florida, man. If you played Red Dead Redemption 2, you know exactly where this is going. Rockstar built a world there that doesn't revolve around you. It just exists, whether you're looking at it or not. Every NPC had their daily routine. Every town had its own life, and now they're taking that exact level of detail, and instead of putting it in the Wild West, they're putting it into a sweaty, quirky coastal town in modern-day Florida. That's the leap I'm most excited about, because this density of tiny details is the difference between a map you just drive through and a world you get stuck in. Now let's zoom out for a second, because this is where the real statement is hiding. Everything I just showed you, the stilt house, the marina, the fully built-out bar, the characters, the mini golf course, all of that is happening in one single region, 1 out of 6. Rockstar has confirmed 6 big regions for the map: Vice City, the Leonida Keys, the Grass Rivers, Mount Calaga, Port Gellhorn, and Ambrosia. And out of all of those, the Keys are almost certainly one of the smallest in terms of pure size. So if even the smallest corner of the map is packed this densely, you can roughly do the math on what's waiting for us in the rest of it. For comparison, GTA 5 basically had Los Santos and Blaine County, so city and countryside. Here we're talking about 6 regions that are all supposed to feel completely different, from swamps to mountains to a rundown industrial town. It's all in there. And if Rockstar puts even close to this much love into every one of those regions, we're looking at the densest open world that has ever existed by a mile. And that exact realization brings me to the point that I think way too many people are sleeping on right now, because I'm pretty convinced that the Leonida Keys are the place where GTA 6 actually starts for us. And I don't mean some quick 5-minute tutorial where you rob one gas station and then immediately get dropped into Vice City. I'm talking about a real chapter, the first hours of the story, completely down here on the islands. and there are just too many things pointing that way at the same time. First, Jason lives here. His house, his job, his boss, his best buddy, everything sits in the Keys. Second, in the second trailer, we see Jason driving out to pick Lucia up from the Leonida Penitentiary, and right after that, we see the two of them together at his stilt house. So that means both main characters, our first safe house, our first vehicles, our first employer, and our radio buddy Cal are all packed into one single, quiet, self-contained region. That's not a coincidence. That's a textbook starting area, and it works perfectly for the story too. Jason is the guy who's already here and shows us the world. Lucia comes fresh out of prison and gets to know this world just as new as we do as players. You honestly can't build a better opening than that. And I think Rockstar is doing this completely on purpose because of pacing. They want you to land in a manageable, chill corner and learn the basics in peace. The new driving physics, the boat controls, the gunplay, how NPCs react to you. If they threw you straight into the full chaos of Vice City at the start, you'd just be overwhelmed. And we already know this pattern. Red Dead Redemption 2 started exactly like this. The snowy prologue in Coulter was a quiet, locked-off chapter that first teaches you how this world even works before it lets you loose on the open map. And the Keys are basically the summer version of that. But I do have one big hope here, and I'll be honest, this is where I want more than what Rockstar delivered back then. Because Coulter was too tight for me. Just missions, barely any freedom until the chapter was over. With the Keys, I want the opposite. Give me a small open sandbox. Let me rob the corner store, take the boat out, go fishing for 3 hours, and completely ignore the story if I feel like it. A starting area can absolutely be limited, but it shouldn't feel like a hallway. And the real trick behind all of this is something else anyway. The Keys aren't there to keep you away from Vice City. They're there so that the moment you drive across that bridge for the first time and the skyline shows up in front of you feels like an actual event, like something you earned. And I promise you, that moment is going to be one of the best in the entire game. That leaves one last big topic, and it's also the payoff for that line from the beginning. The most beautiful and most dangerous waters in America. Because the dangerous part is literally in the water. Rockstar built entire ecosystems under the surface. Coral reefs, sea turtles, schools of tropical fish, eels hanging out between the rocks. Honestly, some of that footage almost looks like a diving game, but it's not just the cute stuff swimming down there. GTA 5 already had sharks that could get you while swimming, and Red Dead Redemption 2 had a full wildlife system with gators and bears that could genuinely take you apart. I'm fully expecting GTA 6 to pick up right there, just in the Florida edition, and above the surface there's just as much going on. Boat parties on the sandbars, fishing that hopefully builds on the Red Dead 2 system, seaplanes hopping between the islands, and those massive bridges modeled after the real Keys bridges. And then of course there's the smuggling angle. If Jason is moving product for Brian through the islands at the start of the game, it's pretty likely that Midnight Boat runs through shallow channels, dodging the Coast Guard, and drop-offs at the marina become an actual gameplay loop. So not just a cutscene, but something you play yourself. And why is this bigger than just this one region? Simple. Rockstar has always nailed cars. Flying was genuinely fun in GTA 5 too, but the water, let's be honest, was a weak spot in GTA 5. Boats felt clunky, and there was barely a real reason to ever get in the water at all. The beaches were decoration. And that's exactly what's flipping here. If your game starts in an island region where you smuggle, dive, fish, and cruise between the Keys by boat, then the water has to feel good. There's no way around it, and the entire map benefits from that. The canals in Vice City, the swamps and the grass rivers, the smuggling routes out on the open ocean. I think water is going to be a real core feature in GTA 6 for the first time in the history of the series, and not just the blue edge around the map. So let's wrap this up. We've got a stilt house on a sleepy island, a protagonist who genuinely just wants to be left alone, a semi-retired smuggler boss with a shark tattoo and a boat shop as a front, a paranoid buddy on the radio, a dive bar with a sunset deck, and a reef full of life right outside the front door. And all of that in what's probably the smallest region of the entire map. Sure, Vice City is going to get most of the attention in the end, and honestly, the city looks insane and deserves it. But the Keys are the foundation the whole game is built on, the place where you get to know Jason, where the story begins, and the reason those neon lights on the horizon are going to feel like something special. So don't sleep on this region. If you want more GTA 6 stuff like this, drop a sub so you don't miss the next breakdowns. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.